Kansas at Texas, always a scary game for the Burn Orange. Always. But you get them at home. You get them at home. This line's at 16 and a half. This is a top 25 matchup.
Yep.
Over two
How
touchdowns. That's pretty crazy, man. That's pretty crazy. Uh, Kansas, I thought if you actually watched the Nevada game, which I did because I bet on I bet on Kansas. They did not cover, unfortunately. I still thought that they just dominated Nevada. I know it was like only a touchdown game, but they dominated. I mean, if you watch the game, you would understand that they were running the ball. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. Nevada just hit a couple plays here or there. I mean, Jalen Daniels is still a stud. Devin Neal's still a stud. Luke Grimm, healthy. Come on. Mason Fairchild, come on. Once again, this offense, really good. But guess what? Let's give credit to their defense because guess what? Last week against BYU, how about two big time turnovers in the second half? They held BYU to zero point 0.4 yards per carry. 0.4. That's a BYU team that has a loaded running back room. Aiden Robbins, LJ Martin. I mean, and they're not able to run. They were able to run the ball a little bit against Arkansas, but they couldn't do it against Kansas. Relying too heavily on Keaton Slovis over there. So I thought they made great adjustments in the second half for that game. Is it going to be hard to contain these weapons from Texas? Yes, excruciatingly so, likely. But man, like if they can just like get a turnover or two and like ramp up their offense a little bit. Now here's the argument for Texas. Wrote down some stats for their defense. Now they don't have Chris Ross on the defensive line, but Chris Ross, I mean, rotational guy. That's fine. Cole Hudson on the offensive line, rotational guy. They're fine. They're what I'm trying to say is that they're still healthy there in the trenches. They're 12th PFF's defensive ratings, 25th in yards per game allowed, 18th in yards per game rushing allowed, 24th in passing efficiency rating, 17th in third down conversion rates as a defense, 16th in first downs allowed as defense, 20th in defensive penalties, second in red zone defense, 18th in sacks, 16th in turnover margin, 13th in points per game allowed, top 15 strength of schedule, top 5, depending what kind of strength of schedule metric you're looking at. So they're consistently playing at a very high level against very good competition. Yeah, I mean, this defense is sick for Texas. This defense is sick. It's kind of going to be like the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object, right? Kansas offense, which cannot be stopped, versus the Texas defense, which has shown up and finds ways to get stops. What are you thinking
yeah, I'm
about
gonna
this?
the thing is first of all, Illinois, I think, has a really good defense. And we saw it struggle against Jalen Daniels and running quarterbacks. That's what college football is these days. With creative offensive schemes that Kansas has, and obviously explosive athletes at the quarterback position, right? It doesn't matter how good a defense is. He's gonna break you down. He's gonna break down plays, and he's just gonna make plays on his own. And obviously, we've been super high in Texas. I'm super high in Texas. I think they're gonna run the table in the Big 12. Um, but I'm gonna take Kansas to cover here. I think 16.5 is too much. I think Jalen Daniels will still put up numbers. They'll put up points. Quinn Ewers will play well. It was nice to see what he did last week in a game where they could have let down, obviously, against Baylor. But they kind of dominated that whole game there. And I still impressed with Kansas. Obviously, Kansas, like you said, their defense has been good enough to make sure they're 4-0 this at this point in the season. Obviously, you think it will continue to get maybe a little bit better. Especially Austin Booker has been a hit in the transfer portal. He's the defensive end for them there, leading their team in sacks. He's from Minnesota. Obviously, as a Minnesota fan, it's tough to lose a guy like that. And see him succeed somewhere else. But happy for him, Austin Booker. Going somewhere where he's going to play and play really well. But yeah, Texas, too much talent, too good defensively. And obviously that offense, they'll put up plenty. They'll put up enough points to get it done. I don't think they'll win by 16.5 though. That's why I'm going Kansas. But I think it could be an awesome game. Like in terms of like flash plays from both sides of the team. But yeah, Texas is too good to lose, but Kansas is too good not to cover, I think.
Yeah, I struggle. If this was in Kansas, I would. Oh yeah, I'd be all over Kansas to cover. Kansas middle in the pack. It's not like they commit a ton of penalties. Um, but when they do and they kind of become one dimensional, like I struggle to see Kansas finding a way to run the ball against this Texas defensive line. I really do. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take Texas and I'm gonna take the points, minus 16.5. I know that feels
Wow.
like a lot. It might be too much. I don't know. But I just think that there's more of a chance that Texas covers the spread than they don't. I just, this is a hard game for me to pick. This is a hard game for me to pick. But
That's fair.
yeah,
Sarcasm cooking right now, and I don't think they're going to be taking Kansas lightly like they have, when they lost them a couple years ago. I don't think that's going to happen. I know Texas is well aware of how explosive Jalen Daniels and Kansas is, and how dangerous they can be. So don't take them lightly. But
yeah.
I get what you're saying. I'm going to go Kansas.
And I think Kansas's defensive success has relied a lot on turnovers, and it did last year. So I'm still waiting for that to break. And Quinn Ewers has done a good job taking care of the football this year. So for the most part, actually, I don't
He's
even
got
know that he's an interception.
zero picks, which
Yeah.
for him is
So
crazy. But also, like, something's got to give. Is it going to be Quinn Ewers to throw picks, or is it going to be Kansas to not turn the ball over? But yeah, like you said, storylines here are really interesting. I think you talked about that defense and that offense. I was referring to Kansas offense and Texas defense. Both of them been elite this year.